Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Aline, and today we'll update you what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, November is approaching as American Diabetes Month. We speak with a doctor from Montefiore Einstein about how they'll raise awareness and educate the community on diabetes. Then we are joined by the Director of Behavioral Health from Metro Plus Health, who will reveal key insights into mental health, social media usage, and parenting trends across the United States. Next, we close up this October in recognition of National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We sit down with the Senior Director of Paths to Healing from Rising Ground to support survivors and promote healthy relationships. After that, we are joined by an emerging actor from LaSalle Productions as he shares about his role and experience in the upcoming film Security Guard, set to hit screens in 2025. And finally, the director of the Center for Leadership at University of Mount St. Vincent joins us to share more details on their upcoming third annual Leadership Summit. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kim Aline, and today is Tuesday, October 29th. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Observed each November, American Diabetes Month raises awareness about diabetes, its impact, and the importance of prevention and treatment. Various health organizations, including Montefiore Einstein, will host events, campaigns, and educational activities to engage the public and spread awareness. Dr. Edwin Torres of Montefiore Einstein joined me to discuss their efforts. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Now, I want to jump right into it. Can you tell us a little bit more about how diabetes is affecting, so many Americans? With that, how many people are affected, and why is that number growing?
The prevalence of diabetes in the United States, we have about 37 million Americans who have diabetes. So when we look at that into a percentage, it's close to 11% of the U.S. population. One in five Americans do not know they have diabetes. It's about 20% that don't know they have the disease. This is a big number. It is very important for folks to get screened so they can find the status. The question as to why this number is growing, this has to do with a multifactorial effect that has happened. We call it like a tsunami. We have an aging population. We have a population that's also suffering from an epidemic of obesity, and we also have health disparities that continue to plague our healthcare system and society. So when you combine all these three, it's a perfect storm for diabetes.
Now, as you mentioned, there are some people who may be living with diabetes and have no idea. With that, what are some signs and symptoms of diabetes?
So some of the signs and symptoms for diabetes, sometimes patients take it for granted. They starting to urinate more, they starting to feel more thirsty, sometimes they might feel a little tired, sometimes you have a wound that is not healing. When you have those symptoms, it's very important for you to get checked by your providers because these are signs of an elevated blood sugar. So you have type 1 and type 2. Type 1 diabetes is more of a emergent diagnosis. Folks, they develop it and this is a very abrupt diagnosis. Type 2 is more insidious. So a lot of times patients will have type 2 diabetes for years and will not even feel that they have the sugars.
Now, how can living with diabetes alter one's life?
It can alter in many factors, right? Your life from day to day. Now you're going to have to take medications. Now we're going to have another expenditure if you have copays that we're going to have to take care of. And also we have to think about the psychological burden that brings to somebody. Many patients, they know somebody with diabetes. It's very prevalent in the community, and we hear that folks lose their vision, they lose their foot. So when one gets diagnosed, that brings a lot of stress. But if we get taken care of early, we can, be very well managed and make sure that we live a long, healthy life with the disease.
Now, when we talk about diabetes on a larger scale, how it's affecting our country, but I want to take a look at New York City specifically. Which communities in our city are most affected by diabetes?
So the Bronx, we have a higher burden than all the other boroughs. The prevalence of diabetes in the Bronx is about 16%. When you look at New York City overall, that the prevalence is 12%. And when we look at the state, it's about 10%. So when we look at a community like the Bronx, we have a lot of disparities, housing, access to healthy foods, and also unemployment. So all these together, coupled where we have predominantly communities of color, Latinos, African Americans, and new immigrants, this is a perfect place for diabetes to thrive. And this is why we're trying to decrease the burden in the community.
And with that, would you say those are some risk factors associated with, being diagnosed with diabetes?
Yes, we call them the social determinants of health. These are factors that we know that are not just inherent to your genetic makeup, to your family history, but these are factors that come from your community, from the outside, that still impact you.
Now, what are some challenges people in the Bronx may face in regards to diabetes? We know that people in the Bronx are unfortunately have more exposure to, being diagnosed with this. But what are some of the challenges that, people from the Bronx that may face, while this is happening?
There's a lot of challenges in the Bronx. Having access to healthy food. In the Bronx, we have the biggest center of distribution for produce for New York City. But when you go to places like the South Bronx, folks might not have access to healthy foods. So we have to make sure that folks do not live in a food desert. We call them food desert because when you go there, you're not going to have access to fresh, fruits and vegetables. The other is that, unemployment is a big factor. Housing is a big factor. So coupled with that, and also folks that want to exercise but might not feel safe going out at night or in certain hours, that contributes to this, pandemic of diabetes.
Now, when we talk about diabetes awareness, we talk about prevention, but I want to talk about treatment and what people living with diabetes can do to live a healthier lifestyle. What some advice would you give to people who may be living with diabetes or nearing the spectrum? What can they do to kind of live a healthier lifestyle?
So it's very important to understand your diagnosis and to also seek help. At Montefiore, we have the diabetes prevention program. Those are for those folks who have pre-diabetes, and we have a program that is trying to help you prevent the diagnosis. This program is very successful. Those who have diabetes, we also have a program that's called the Promise Program. And in this program, they guide you through and make sure that you have a solid education to understand your disease. It's very important to have a very good foundation because in the day and age of social media, it is so easy for folks to get misinformation and for that to influence how you're going to carry your disease. And the number one thing that we want is for the patient to be educated and to treat themselves, because if you treat your disease, you'll be able to live a healthy life.
Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned social media. I think that a lot of people use it as a tool to kind of help them on their journey, and it could be helpful. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of misinformation. What are some things people should look out for that may be red flags that they'll see on social media in regards to health, eating, and all of those things that can contribute to diabetes?
Some of the red flags is that, the motive, right? Sometimes folks are trying to sell you a product or direct you to buying a product. A lot of the influencers that we have nowadays, folks, they get paid so they can promote certain things. So the best thing for folks to do is to go to reliable sources. You go to the CDC, you go to the Department of Health, you go to Montefiore, where we have reliable source of information that we can provide you, because these are the places that they want to make sure that you stay healthy.
Now, I know that you mentioned some programs. Can you tell us a little bit more about the programs that are specifically for, Diabetes Awareness Month and, what's going on with that?
Oh, we're very excited. This is something that, we start working at the beginning of the year, and when November comes, we all get very pumped, right? We get very happy because we're ready to bring a lot of resources to the community. We have close to 30 different programs. They will be accessible in person. Some of them will be virtual for the community. These programs, they vary from nutritional counseling to more complex, to teaching you about the medications, the disease, and also mental health. So if you go to our Montefiore website, Diabetes Month website, you will be able to see all the programs that we have and also addressing mental health. That is a big component of why folks, are, struggling to manage their diabetes.
Now, with everything that's going on, with all of these, activities, I think it's great. But I'm curious to know, how does Montefiore aim to empower the community during American Diabetes Month? I do believe that education is an avenue to power, of course. But how do you hope this will empower the community that goes out to these events and learns a little bit more about their health?
So we're trying to empower the community. This is a big word, right? Empowering. So our theme this year is Empower and Connect. We're trying to reconnect the patients with the healthcare system. They can come to us and learn of the resources that they have, because a lot of times you will have these programs right on your backyard. And what good are these programs if you don't have access to them, if you don't seek for them, if you don't understand them? And we want to not only bring the patient, but also bring the family, and also be a resource for those in the community, for those providers in the community who might not have those resources, to come to us and reconnect, and we can help them help their patient live a healthy lifestyle. So with that, the message that we want to bring to the community is, seek for the resources that you have, because there's a lot that we're offering. We want to make sure the community takes advantage of it.
And can you quickly just let everybody know if there are any screening efforts where they can go to screen to see if they, may be a part of that population that's at risk?
I would say go to Montefiore Diabetes, Month. We'll share the website with you so they can have access to it. Click there and you'll be able to see the full spectrum of all those resources that we have, not only for screening, but you might want to just get educated because you know a family member who has diabetes. And a lot of times that education helps a lot to just, help that family member who's struggling with the disease.
Well, Dr. Torres, I want to thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation.
Well, thank you for spreading the awareness with us.
For more information on American Diabetes Month events by Montefiore Einstein, visit the website that appears on the screen below. Don't go away, we'll be back with more Open right after this.
.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. Metro Plus Health, New York City's affordable health plan, released a series of national surveys that uncover vital insights into mental health within the Hispanic community while looking at social media usage and parenting trends across the United States. Director of Behavioral Health for Metro Plus Health, Jan Popescu, joined me to discuss the findings. Jan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Now, can you give us a brief overview of Metro Plus Health findings on mental health, specifically in relation to the Hispanic community, as well as findings on parenting and social media?
Right. So I'll give you a couple of key points from our survey, and some of these findings, really confirm, what we, as clinicians and professionals working in the field of behavioral health, kind of knew all along. 81% of people of Hispanic descent, they believe that it's important for them to have access to culturally competent services. we're also finding out that 60% of those who took the survey know someone or themselves, being in need of accessing behavioral health services. What was also very interesting is that a good percentage, of 21% of those interviewed, also stated that they do support someone else outside of their family too, as far as access to healthcare. I think that was really key and confirmed, that for us as a plan that offers affordable care to people in the community is important, to make sure that our network of providers, are culturally competent and they have, prompt response, when someone is seeking help.
Now, with that, what barriers do Hispanic Americans face when trying to access mental health resources?
Well, I think, and I'll actually have a little bit of a story that I'm going to give you. But one of the major barriers there is a sense of, a culture difference. And that includes language, that includes the socioeconomical aspects. So the story that I want to give you to make a good example of that, on Friday, we had someone who visited us at our headquarters at 50 Water Street, a member who is receiving essential plan coverage, from us. And this member, Spanish speaking only, working, and really needing to have access to seeing a therapist in person. And this person has been looking for getting an appointment, for a very long time. And unfortunately, kind of being put on hold, making phone calls, and not getting to speak to a live person, and became extremely frustrated, like any of us would, and just decided to walk into our, headquarters, to really get some help. And our customer service, just a wonderful team, they speak, many languages, were able to meet with a person, they connected him to us, to one of our clinicians, and we talked to him, we're able to put his worries at ease, and connected him to a service in Queens, in Rego Park, which is close to where he lives, and able to get him an appointment within a week.
Wow, that's amazing.
In person with a Spanish-speaking clinician. So I think that for us, the value of being able to access a network of providers who are diverse and recognizing the needs of our Hispanic American population is really important. It's at the forefront of our mission.
Now, when we talk about mental health, I think in this day and age, it's important to bring up social media because it has an impact on mental health. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what you found in regards to social media and mental health?
Yeah, well, pretty concerning findings. And once again, I think, that I'm a psychotherapist by training, and I did a lot of my practice in community clinics for many years. And I treated a variety of different ages, from the youngest to more into the senior population. And we recognize that particularly with the younger population, there is a context, issue. And, thinking of the Gen Z population, the young people, who were born in the late 90s, 2000s, they were born in this context where technology really meant everything. So for that reason, we're seeing, that 1 in 4 people who actually answered, the survey identify an addiction issue when it comes to how much time they actually spend on using technology. So when we talk about addiction, we're talking about physiological symptoms that a person would experience being not having access, to technology. So I think we identify the fact that there's a need to respond to this without being judgmental, right? Kind of comparing to the previous generations that look, you should not be spending so much time on on that phone. Well, the bottom line is that that's all they know, and they grew up using that. So I think for us being able to offer at MetroPlus access to care where telehealth is a means to get help, right? So someone experiencing say like anxiety and depression and fatigue and insomnia, all of this related to spending too much time using that social media. It means that we need to be able to use our network of providers, to really welcome, a conversation about that.
Now, what strategies can parents implement to manage social media usage? As we know that many young people have reported having negative feelings after using it.
Right. Well, I'm a parent myself, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a story, of what has happened to me. My daughter is 11, and she's a bright student. She really enjoys a lot of different things, However, as her generation and as the way that they receive information, they educate themselves. They tend to spend a lot of the time searching for that information online. And I noticed symptoms, right? I noticed that she was not as available to doing things with us, with the parents. She was not as excited about things that were other than watching a movie or looking at shorts on the phone. And so it just became a point of kind of rediscovering ourselves as parents. First of all, what type of behavior do you actually model, right? So what do you do? What do you project as a parent, to a child? So if you as a parent, you see our research, also shows our survey that, 46% of the parents who answered the survey spend 6 or more hours on the phone browsing, the social media daily. So what that tells you is that, after a regular work day, you come home and that's what you do. That's how you spend your day, your evening, instead of spending time with your child, So, making changes there, it's absolutely important. Projecting, important and healthy behaviors, that, read a book, watch a movie together, or spend time with your child. If they have an interest in discussing something that they saw on social media, why don't you just talk about it? Show some curiosity and not necessarily, dismiss it because it's a bad thing to do. Getting outside more. I think, we're learning a big lesson about, connectedness to the outer world, to the nature, to the rivers, to the trees, to the woods. And that speaks to a larger concept of how do we appreciate what we have. Okay, so if you want to put it in the larger context of climate change, taking care of nature and taking care of ourselves, by doing that. And so a lot more proactive, planning, I would say, parents being mindful that if they don't intervene and provide opportunities for their children and provide, positive role models, then the children will know which way to go.
Right. Well, I want to say that I think that us having this conversation is so important because right now we're talking about Gen Z, but you mentioned that you have an 11-year-old, which I think maybe Gen Alpha.
Probably, yeah.
And so I think that it's important that we're talking about this now so that the next generation doesn't have the same, attachment to social media. And so, with that, I want to thank you so much for joining us and having this conversation. And hopefully we can kind of make these changes because, as you mentioned, we're seeing that it is having a negative impact on adults and children.
Sure.
And so I'm looking forward to, continue this conversation with you, maybe in a few months to see if things have changed. But, once again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us and talking about this.
Thank you.
To learn more about MetroPlus Health, visit their website at metroplus.org. Stay tuned. We have more for you right after this.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
Welcome back. As we wrap up October, we want to take a moment to discuss Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Every October, organizations and individuals unite across the country to uplift the needs, voices, and experiences of survivors. Rising Ground, a New York City human services organization, has supported survivors of intimate partner and gender-based violence for over 40 years. Senior Director of Paths to Healing for Rising Ground, Stephanie Menighe, joins me to discuss their efforts. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me here.
Now, can you give us a little bit more background on Rising Ground and the work the organization does to support DV survivors?
Oh yes, Rising Ground has an amazing Paths to Healing division which has numerous programs that support survivors of intimate partner violence and gender-based violence throughout New York City and all the boroughs, offering many different types of services throughout the lifespan, actually. We have community-based services. I'll start with that one because it engages part of the younger people that we do see. Our community-based services program provides individual therapy and group therapy and advocacy to survivors of all ages. And all of our services and supports for survivors are trauma-informed and anti-oppressive in a social justice framework, which is near and dear to our hearts. We really carry that with us everywhere we go, because that is our commitment to survivors and to ourselves, knowing that we make meaningful, intentional supports available to survivors in marginalized communities, vulnerable communities across New York City. As I was saying, our community-based services program offers therapy, and for 0 to 5, we offer child-parent psychotherapy. And then we also have in community-based services our GIRL program, which supports women-identified survivors and witnesses of intimate partner violence ages 10 to 25. And then we also have our economic empowerment program, which provides financial counseling to survivors. Our holistic healing program, which provides clinical-based alternative forms of healing, kind of challenging the traditional way we provide support to survivors, which is very interesting. There's Reiki, which is energy healing, sound healing, aromatherapy, grounding, yoga, meditation. It's so lovely. And it's a great source of support for survivors who aren't aligned with maybe the traditional therapies or not ready for that yet. We also have our Home Plus program, which provides a safety response alert to survivors to stay in their home rather than going to shelter. It provides a sense of safety for survivors to be able to contact anybody that they choose if they feel that they're in danger. And there's so many programs. We also have our Respect and Responsibility program, which is aimed to provide educational resources and counseling for people who have caused harm. And we have our Relationship Abuse Prevention program, which is our RAP program, which is school-based and community-based, high schools throughout New York City, providing education and counseling and workshops to young people.
Well, I want to touch on that because as we're talking about young people, and you previously mentioned that one of the programs allows for 10-year-olds to be a part of it. With that being said, I think it's so important that we're acknowledging children in this sphere. What impact does, domestic violence or intimate partner violence have on children, and why was it important to include them into these programs?
Yes, so there's research out there that shows that even in utero, babies are affected by intimate partner violence. It's very important to include that in your programming because intimate partner violence has a lot of effects on children. The impact can be broad depending on what children have witnessed, the severity of the abuse. And it can result in declining academics, outbursts, aggressive behavior, yelling, screaming, behavior that we don't understand as parents ourselves. And also, it could result in a child aligning with the parent that was harmed, or even the other way, aligning with the parent who caused harm. And it's important to address this because in a lot of situations, the parent-child bond is broken. So one of the ways we can address that in our child-parent psychotherapy model is giving the space, a safe space, and an opportunity for the parent who was harmed and the child to rebuild that relationship and process the trauma together, learning coping skills, healthy coping skills, and getting the child aligned and back to the point where they can see their parent that was harmed as a protective parent. And that way, they can get back to being a kiddo while their parent, can grow and learn and also, help process with their child the trauma that happened.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the criminalization of survivors. Can you tell me, what that looks like and how it is impacting possibly the work that you do to help survivors?
Oh, our Criminalized Survivors program is amazing. It is one of the only ones in the country that is funded at a state and city level. So when we're working with criminalized survivors, we really do understand how when they are engaged with the criminal legal system, either through arrest or prosecution, conviction, their survivorship changes and they're now known to the public as defendants instead of survivors. And what we really want to do is challenge that notion and bring the attention back to they are survivors. So our Criminalized Survivors program provides individual counseling and defense-based legal advocacy to the survivors that are incarcerated at Rikers and also throughout the city. Really spending time and educating the public on how to view survivors, especially criminalized survivors, and kind of breaking away from the norm of what everyone thinks is a survivor and who is a victim. Just because they're involved with the criminal justice system, we have to make sure that everyone knows that they are a survivor and they should be getting the support that we would normally give to any survivor.
And with that, I kind of want to talk about, since we're just talking about this idea of being perceived as a defendant versus a survivor, what can we as a society do when we encounter survivors of domestic violence, especially when it just comes down to how we talk about it or how we treat people who are survivors of domestic violence?
I think that just being more open to our own ideas of what we see as a survivor, spreading awareness and bringing a narrative to that story of the survivor who was incarcerated. Understanding that there's different pathways that led up to being a survivor and different pathways that happen after you are a survivor. And making sure that organizations have more programs welcoming survivors or people that have a criminalized history, making services available to people who are, in probation or who have to wear a monitor, who are in their homes. Just making everything inclusive and available. And also knowing that survivors who were criminalized, also sometimes they don't feel safe or comfortable in normal settings. So to kind of give them a space for that as well, because they're trying to fight the perception as well, the normalized perception of being incarcerated.
Now, what are some effective strategies for promoting healthy relationships among teenagers and young adults?
Oh, I love our RAP program, a Relationship Abuse Prevention Program. So our Relationship Abuse Prevention Program focuses on educating young people in high school. We know that right now, young people, they're dating a lot, and sometimes they don't know what a healthy relationship is. So our RAP program provides workshops and counseling to teach young people what a healthy relationship could look like, what gender-based violence is, how to recognize red flags, what toxic masculinity is. We have 16-year-olds who are talking about toxic masculinity, which is great. And we have just providing modeling and exempling, because we also know that teenagers are getting their advice and they're modeling a lot from social media and from each other. And we have to make sure that we can have the space with them where they are getting the correct information. So that way, when a peer comes to you, you're educated and someone told you from the RAP program, like, hey, this is, this is a red flag. Let's talk about this. Encouraging teenagers to talk amongst themselves about what healthy dating looks like.
And how can we kind of use this for older adults? Because I think that a lot of older adults are still kind of learning what a healthy relationship looks like as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love the fact that our relationship abuse prevention program has been established in high schools, and spreading that information to adults, getting them more involved. Parents being welcome to the workshops and learning as well what healthy relationships look like. I think being able to be curious and starting the conversations and researching it with your young person, like kind of seeing what things are, because a lot of adults, they don't know what healthy relationships look like either. So also talking to your RAP coordinator, discussing these things, and really reinforcing what was learned in the RAP program at home and modeling it and just communicating with your team.
Well, Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for joining us and having this very important discussion.
Thank you.
To find out more about Rising Ground and their programs, visit its website at risingground.org. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open after this. Welcome back. LaSalle Productions has announced a new film titled The Security Guard. The story follows Amari Russell, a single father who takes on the role of an NYPD school safety agent. Through his journey, he confronts an immense challenge when an active shooter threatens a high school. The Security Guard is scheduled to premiere in 2025 and will enter various upcoming film festivals. Joining me to discuss the film is lead actor James B. Randolph. James, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me today.
Now, I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about the Security Guard. Can you just tell us, a little bit more about the movie and, your experience working on it?
So The Security Guard is about Amari Russell, who I play. He's a single father from Brooklyn, even though most of the movie is filmed here in the Bronx. He's a single father from Brooklyn. He wants to be an NYPD officer. He gets disqualified. So his community, his friends, family, teach him a way to better serve the community, and he becomes a school safety agent in his daughter's school, and a tragic event takes place.
Just watching it, I was like, wow, somebody who's from New York City and has gone to, school where I have seen school safety agents, how did you prepare for the role, and what were some of the things that came up when you were filming?
So this is actually Will LaSalle, the director, producer of the movie. This is actually his story. He wanted to be a NYPD officer, and he ended up doing corrections and became a school safety agent himself. So as quietly as it's kept, this is really his story. So I leaned on him a lot as far as how the verbiage of what the school safety agents use, how they walk, how they talk, how they respond to incidents. So I really leaned on him and other school safety agents as far as getting this role really down pat.
Now, how does the film portray the experiences of Omari Russell as a single father during such a critical incident?
Well, I'm a single father myself. I have kids, so I could really relate to what Omari goes through. They're school age, so this is also for the parents as well too. School violence and gun safety. This is something that we deal with. Our kids go through lockdown drills, and it's really tough. And also, my co-star Mackenzie Rain D'Angelo. Her dad, who's also in the movie, he plays Officer Harris. I leaned on him a lot as far as how to really get the best out of this role and what we wanted to portray to the audience. And yeah.
Now, I think that, one, thank you so much for sharing a little bit, of insight on you and your personal life and how that was brought to the role, because I do think the movie can bring up a lot of messages about what it means to be a parent, and the idea of what happens when you send your child off to school. With that being said, what key messages does the security guard aim to convey about the current state of school safety?
So this movie really what it portrays, it's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican, it's not a rich-poor movie. It's strictly about our kids, and it's about their safety, whether that's better gun safety laws, better parenting, just focus on our kids. There's a lot we can do as parents and as adults to keep our kids protected in school. And so that's what this movie wants to focus on. It's about the kids, not about anything else. It's about keeping your kids safe in school.
Now, I will admit, just doing my research about it, which I think every good movie does, it made me think to myself, would I be okay with this? And, the question is, should there be armed officers stationed at schools? Can you just explain, what you hope audiences will gain from this experience and, what they'll think about, especially in terms of that question?
So hopefully that the audience is going to understand that the teachers in the school safety agents, the cafeteria worker, the school nurse, the volunteers, these are ones that we entrust with our kids every day, and they put that on their back, and they're keeping our kids safe every day. So this movie is for them. They don't get the light shined on them enough. So this is for the everyman that goes and keeps our kids safe every day. So that's what this movie is really trying to focus on, is that the unsung heroes that keep our kids safe every day.
And, with that, I love talking about movies. Do you feel that directors, actors, and everybody who kind of brings the movie to life, do you feel this sense of responsibility to kind of shine light and kind of use it as a tool to have these really complex discussions?
This is a very tough conversation to have. And with us giving the guidelines, the framework for parents to sit down and talk to their kids, for other parents to talk to each other, that's the conversation that we want to have. We want to have more intimate conversations with people one-on-one of, hey, did you see this movie, Security Guard? And what it really focuses on, what it really touches on. So it's going to be hard. This is hard, but these are hard conversations that parents are already having with their kids, that parents are having with one another. So we just really want to keep shining the light on it and just make sure our kids are safe in school.
Now, I want to talk a little bit, because I saw the trailer, and we have a young actor, the actor that plays your daughter. How, just working with her, how do you kind of introduce, a story with such complex themes to a young actor, and how, do the older actors and the adults on set kind of nurture the child actor, while also kind of providing a space for them to learn, ask questions, and all of those type of things?
Well, Mackenzie Rain, let me tell you something. This young lady, she does not miss. When you say action, she doesn't miss a line. She's a professional, and it's amazing to see she's so young. She's 10 years old, and she makes you step my game up. So I'm like, let's go, I'm ready. So everyone on cast, the crew, like I said, her dad's also in the film, and I just can't speak enough great things about her. She's just so talented. She's so talented. So yes, we do nurture her. She comes prepared on set. So there's not really much we have to do besides step our game up to keep pace with her. So we tell her all the time, thank you for letting us star in your movie. So we already see the talent that this young lady has, and she's going to go far. So 10 years down the road, I'm going to say, yeah, I was in the movie with Mackenzie Rain. So
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Now, as the film approaches its premiere and film festival appearances, what are you most excited about in terms of audience reactions and potential impact on the conversation about school safety?
Well, this is my second lead in a film. This is my third film with Will LaSalle, and we're getting real hyped for the premiere. What I'm looking forward to showing it to my family, my friends, the public. I cannot wait for everyone to see this film. So preparation for it's building up. I'm sitting down doing interviews with you, other news platforms. So I'm really excited for my mom to see it, my mom and my dad to see it, my kids to see it. So yeah, I'm just excited all around. If you cannot tell. So. But it's going to be, for how much fun it is going to be a lot of tough conversations. It's going to be a lot of people really focused on gun violence, because it deals with gun violence, not just specifically in schools, but just in general in the community. So I'm looking forward to the tough conversations people are going to have with each other.
Wow. And then lastly, I definitely think it's important that we shine a light on, people in our community who are making movies and, supporting actors. With that being said, what do you hope to see for the future of creatives in New York City who are kind of taking on this role of making their own, their own work? So
LaSalle Productions, you've seen footage. It looks like we have a $90 million budget. Shoots it off $0. Everything comes out of his pocket. I live in Brooklyn, traveling up here to the Bronx. We're dedicated. So there's a lot of dedicated directors, a lot of dedicated actors, but no one's doing it like LaSalle Productions. The cast, the crew is predominantly Black and Hispanic. Like I said, no budget, and we are revolutionizing filmmaking here in New York City. So everyone, the A24s, Blumhouses, you're going to have to keep pace with us. We're really stepping our game up. I've shown this trailer to thousands of people, and that's the first question they say is, how much money do you guys have? We tell $0. Wow. Where do you film this at? In the Bronx. So big up to the Bronx, big up to all New York City, all the directors, actors out there, but LaSalle Productions is definitely on top right now. Well,
James, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit, about what you've been creating, and working on here in the Bronx with our community. We truly appreciate you taking the time to, talk to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me today.
For more information on the security guard, visit lasalleproductions.com. And to stay updated on James's work, follow him on Instagram at j.b_Randolph. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet Community Media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome back. The University of Mount St. Vincent Center for Leadership will host its 3rd annual Leadership Summit on November 8th. During this event, students will have the opportunity to meet some of the nation's top professionals, network and collaborate with peers, and learn how to effectively incorporate new leadership styles into their education. Andrew Curiel, the director of the Center for Leadership, joins me to discuss the event. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be back.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more, or just give a better overview of the third annual Leadership Summit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a full day of leadership development, not only for our current students at the Mount, but for industry professionals, administrators, staff, external partners, our co-advisory council. Think of it like a holistic conference that professionals usually go to, but for our students. With the focus, with our theme of always leading, always forward. We recently became a university in the beginning of 2024, and I wanted to take that theme and center it here with our Leadership Summit. And the always leading creates the opportunity for our students to see themselves as leaders, not only in the classroom, but outside in their jobs, internships, career development opportunities. And that's what the day is really going to be about. So it's going to be a long day, but really fulfilling, exciting day.
Now, what are some key topics that the leadership professionals at the summit will cover?
Our leadership professionals are going to be super wide and range different professions. So like, for example, we're going to have Alex Jean-Baptiste from City Investment Group talk about investment, but also the law and judicial industry. We're going to have Donna Wilson come in and talk about DEIB and talk about how to be a first-generation student going into corporate America. We're going to have a Lunch and Learn series where students are going to have opportunities to sit at different tables and how we talk about in the Bronx, like break bread with and learn about different professions as well. So it's going to be healthcare, business, psychology, entrepreneurship, so many different sectors for our students to take away from that day and then continue to move on forward.
Now, can you talk about the role high school students will play, at this event?
Huge. Again, Center for Leadership, when you look at that word, I see center being epicenter. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to direct that program. I was thinking, all right, if we're going to be in a college town, the Bronx, having all of these schools here, and we're the University of Mount St. Vincent, and be a prominent higher ed institution, let's invite our community. Let's invite our high schools that we have good relationships with, good partnerships, that most of them enroll at Mount St. Vincent. So we invited 6 different high schools, 2 specifically from the Bronx. 1, Monsignor Scanlon, my alma mater, Cardinal Hayes right here on the Grand Concourse, Pelham Preparatory Academy, which we have an alum, Salesian High School, and then also Frederick Douglass Academy. So a bunch of different schools so that what I feel is with our students, if you can see it, you can be it. And if they can attend a college or university leadership summit, hopefully they could then think about enrolling or taking part in a lot of our other workshops and programs that we have throughout the year.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about what it means to have a leadership style and, how they'll work on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that we incorporated at Mount St. Vincent and the Center for Leadership is dive, right? So since our mascot is the dolphin, I thought, all right, that could work together, dive. D is for discover. We want our freshmen to come in and just discover what leadership means to them, identifying it in their life, family, teams, clubs. And then when it comes to that sophomore year, that introspection, like looking inwards, what type of leader do you want to be that you've seen already? But also incorporating, like getting involved on campus in our clubs, taking our leadership class, joining our National Society of Leadership and Success. And then eventually when it comes to that junior year, incorporating your vision, like what is your roadmap and how can the Mount support you on that journey to find that career and development opportunity? And then senior year is all about executing. How are we gonna, take the moment that you are here in August, and by the time you graduate in May, you're ready for life. You're not only ready for it, but you're ready to embrace it as well. So identifying all of that throughout the 4 years is a journey, but we love walking alongside our students in that journey.
Now, with that, I'll say, how do you get children, because you're working with
100%.
a lot of young people to kind of make that commitment and try to think about their future when they'll be a young adult?
It's a very hard conversation and like trust and transition. And something I've been seeing is we have to lift our students. We can no longer just say like, it's okay to be mediocre. It's okay to not be ready yet. We have such great resources at the university, along with the Center for Leadership, to show our students different access and networks that they otherwise wouldn't have if they didn't attend the university. So for us, it's preparing them. It's acknowledging that, we understand your background, we understand your efforts, but we're here to lift you to the new network and access that you can have at this Leadership Summit. So, ranging with our colleagues, on the day of the summit is going to be First Generation College Celebration Day, and being a first-gen college graduate, we're looking at that week of like, how do we prepare our students for that week? So mock interviews, preparing your elevator pitch, having your resume ready, how to dress professional, all leading up so that once they walk into that space, they're not scared or nervous. They're ready and prepared.
I think that's amazing, and I love that it's happening, or it's available to children in the Bronx. Just because when we talk about education and opportunity, the Bronx is usually left out. So I think it's amazing that this is happening. With that, I want to talk about beyond the summit, what are some ways that the organization is going to continue to help these children?
It's huge. Every day is different at the Mount and the Center for Leadership. And what I love about it is we do so many different things based on what the students want and need. So for example, we do academic enrichment opportunities, giving students access to visit these different places that they otherwise wouldn't go, such as Morgan Stanley we've done in the past year, the National Basketball Association, JP Morgan, and even a Bronx native right here in the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. We also have our leadership class, which we teach on Tuesday nights, 6 to 7. It's a Socratic seminar style class. We do leadership presentations throughout the summer to discover your why and your purpose. And then we also have the National Society of Leadership and Success, which is focused on creating that environment for students to look inward, to embrace what type of leader they are, and then to cultivate that on our campus with classes, clubs, extracurriculars. And then lastly, with our TEDx event, we do an annual TEDx event every January or spring semester for our students to learn from different leaders in different industries throughout the Bronx and New York City.
Now, what are the expectations for participants in terms of engagement and follow-up after the summit?
Yeah, it's going to be professional. It's going to be bring your resume, dress smart casual. It's going to be have your LinkedIn ready because you never know what that connection can be. And the way I'm talking about it with my students is you never know what connection, job, internship, relationship can come from this that can benefit you in the long run and ultimately change your life. So when we look at it, yeah, leadership is for everyone. There is no barrier to that. And the Center for Leadership, we're lowering those barriers ingrained with our mission at Mount St. Vincent to give everyone access and opportunity, from whether you're a freshman, unsure what leadership is to you, or you're a senior and you think you got it down packed, where this Center for Leadership Summit is going to be for everyone.
Now, I love that you mentioned LinkedIn because we
Huge.
know that young people are on social media, and people don't often think about social media being used as a tool to advance in your career. But can you quickly just talk about why that's important, especially for young people?
100%. I think presence is important. My mom has always told me that presence is important. That's why she showed up at every event. And I think when it comes to social media, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So when people are thinking about jobs, when people are thinking about internships, they're going to think about the people that they see on their feed and LinkedIn. And for our students, it's just encouraging them. There's a different way to communicate what you want to share there. Your achievements, your successes, the pitfalls, but the way you overachieve them. And it's different from Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and everything like that. So I think for our students, we're showing them authentically ourselves as leaders at the Mount, whether it may be administrators, faculty, staff. We're showing them what it looks like. Now we're going to show them like the industry professionals outside of Mount St. Vincent that are doing the game too, and how they can follow suit.
Well, Andrew, I want to thank you so much for joining us and kind of connecting with our community and the young people here in the Bronx on ways they can kind of advance in their education and their career. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you again for the opportunity.
The Leadership Summit will take place on Friday, November 8th. For more information, visit the Center for Leadership website that appears on the screen below, or follow them on Instagram at UMSVLeads. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you miss any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibben Aline, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.